Hey everybody, welcome back to Creating Scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator. We continue our Fairfield in build. This should be part 13. Okay, I know those 12 parts previously were pretty... they could put you to sleep, right? But anyway, I hope that you picked something out. There's a little bit more modeling that we'll do, and I'll probably do them off screen because you guys get the idea of how to model. All right. Couple things that I will add is at the end of the building on these end doors, there are canopies that stick over the door, if it's raining, so you don't get people wet. They're about 8 inches thick, and they stick out maybe 4 or 5 feet. All right, so I still need to do the canopies on the end. You guys can pretty much model that yourselves. Also, the grates for the air conditioning units at each room. You can model those in 3D with the louver slats if you wanted to, or you can just put an image, and maybe that's what we'll do for this video. But anyway, we are going to, and I can't remember, to be honest with you, I can't remember when I added a material for these stripes. I don't know if I did that off camera, and it just, I can't remember. But anyway, it's a simple texture. Let me bring up Krita and go to ground. I'm using a texture called Ground 33 4K, which is a 4K image, and it's like sand. It's a ground texture, and I use it a lot for stucco siding. A surfacing on a building. All right, so that's what those stripes are made out of. The only thing is in my model, if we click on those stripes under I have stucco DK2, and I'm using 2 images. I'm using ws2.png, and I'm also using the normal from a smooth stucco PBR. All right, so let me go into Krita again, and let's bring up, here's WS2. Now WS2 I'm using to make 2 of them. All right, so this is WS2. This is the actual image that I created, and it's kind of a dark beige. But the rest of the building, this does those stripes on the building, these stripes here. But this part of the building, the main part of the wall, it's still stucco, but it's a lighter color. All right. So what I did in Krita was I simply added a new, I just did new paint layer, and I selected that beige that I was using, and then I think it was about right in here, and I lowered the tint of that beige. All right, now color has really 4 different properties. All right, hue, which is just another name for color, such as beige, red, green. All right, hue is the same thing. So if you wanted a green hue, you're getting a green color. All right, but you also have tint, tone, and shade. All right, tint is adding white to a hue. Tone is adding gray to a hue, and shade is adding black to a hue. Okay, so basically what I did with this beige is I added white by dragging this down to the white portion of the triangle and made it lighter. Okay, So that's what I did. And then I saved it out as its own PNG, which I believe I called WS Light. Okay, and I did that in Krita. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to we're going to use the same normal that we used for this stucco. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this building, make sure I got the right parts selected, and I am going to click New Material, and I'm going to call it Stucco Light. Okay. And then I'm going to come down to the MSFS parameters, and I'm going to turn on standard. And then I'm going to kind of come down here. I'm going to do double-sided. That way, if I see through a window, I'm seeing a wall and not transparent wall. And then I'm going to come down, and I'm going to go to Textures, Open, go to my Texture folder where I have that WS Light PNG copied into, which is right here. And I'm going to click that, and I'm going to open. Now, the color isn't perfect. It never will be. Blender, and even when we bring it into the sim, it's going to be even different then. You know, there's some things that I can't control, or I don't have the cerebral capacity to deal with. But anyway, this is a lighter color beige for these particular walls. Now I'm going to come down here to normal. I'm going to open, and I'm going to go back into my texture directory, my texture folder of my model lib, and I should have a smooth stucco normal. And that sits right here. So I'm going to click that smooth stucco normal and open that up. Okay, obviously we don't see much. And the reason we don't see much is because I have not UV unwrapped this. So let's go to UV editing and hit A to select all our faces. And go to UV, Smart UV, keep the aspect, click OK. Now we have the normals mapped. All right. Now all we need to do is kind of scale them. So I'm come over here on the left side, hit A, hit S for scale, and just kind of drag those up. Now, if you go too far, it starts to repeat, and you start getting a pattern to it, and stucco is random. Okay, so you guys see if you look at the dark spots, they start becoming uniform. Well, you'll just need to play with your patterns. All right, now if there are lines, if you come over here on the left side with the faces selected in the UV view, if I had a geometry such as stripes, lines, straight lines, I might have to rotate these faces to to make those lines oriented correctly. However, I'm using just a random noise type of normal, and so I don't need to rotate the faces. Okay, now I could rotate them to give them some more randomness. Like if you notice, we got a dark spot here, 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 here. You see that dark spot? If I come over to the faces over here with my cursor on this side, and I hit rotate, and I just rotate those, you know, like this, then that pattern, that straight pattern, gets turned this way, but it doesn't look as organized as it did with my faces being at 90 degrees. Okay, so it kind of helps a little bit with the randomness. Okay, I got kind of dark stripes kind of gone diagonal, but for all intents and purposes, I think, you know, whatever you guys want to do with your models, right? All right, so that's not a perfect beige color. The real hotels are kind of an orangey look to them. So here's the beige stripes that we first had on there that I'm using that ground texture. And then I could lighten up that WS2 even more to make it even lighter. But I think for now, for this video, for what I'm trying to show you, I think that will work just fine. All right. Okay. So we'll see what it looks like when we bring it into the sim. All right. Now, what I do want to do is I want to come over to the first floor. The first floor comes in different fashions, all right, on these Fairfield ends anyway. Some of them are one solid color, and then each band is either inset out or inset in or protrude out as a kind of a staggered look. Some of them have, oops, sorry. Some of them have definite stripes, like this one, which has dark and light gray stripes. The one that I'm doing actually is black and dark gray stripes. I actually went to the building and actually looked at it. For this video, I'm not going to put stripes on it because that would be another modeling fashion. But for my final version that I make, I'll probably take the time and cut it up into 2-foot sections and texture those like that. Or I can use one texture that actually has stripes, but better control in my model is when I make pieces of my models, then add the textures. It gets a little realistic. All right, some of the hotels actually have stone on the first floor, so it really, like I said, you can go to Google Earth front street side and see pictures of the building that was taking picture that had the picture taken of it from their little Volkswagen Beetle with their little thing on top. But you usually only get the front wall. You don't get all the way around the building. And Google Map Pro uses that front view to do some styling, but in the 3D view, it will interpolate, and it happens to change the colors a lot. Okay, so you can't really trust that. So you go to the, like what I'm doing here, Fairfield Inn, and then show a bunch of pictures and use those as your models, as your prototypes for your model. Okay. Okay, so we're good enough, in my opinion. We're good enough for this model, for these stripes and this part here. Okay. Now around front, this particular wall right here. So if I go into edit mode and I select, actually it would be this section here. I'm going to turn ghost mode on. I want to select these faces here, and I want to select these faces here. All right, and then I also want to select these faces around back. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit P and move those to their own selection. I'm going to call those main white. Okay, just like that. And then I'm going to get out of edit mode, and with main white selected, I'm going to come down and I'm going to disassociate that stucco from that object. So yeah, just like that. Because this is not the same shade as this. This is white, and I think I have a white material right down here. So I'm going to apply the white to that part of the building. Okay? Now I'll do a save. All right, what else can we do? All right, we need our stone, and some of this I have set up ahead of time so it doesn't take that long to show you. Okay, so for this stone work, such as these pillars, and I have everything grouped together that are going to be the same texture. Okay, so this wall, this small garden wall, this post, all right, and this post and this post. I'm using a rock wall. All right, so I'm going to come over here to materials, and I'm going to choose, I think I have it. I thought I did. Apparently I don't. All right, so let's click outside of this, and let's add a new material, and let's call this stone. Okay, now we need to apply or add our texture to it. So let's go to UV editing, and with everything selected that belongs to those, let's zoom into this area here. All right, and I think I've already done a UV unwrap. I did. So I went to UV, and then I did a smart UV unwrap. But let's come down and let's apply a standard material. And then in the directory, I have the PBRs that I'm using. So I'm going to open the base color, go to my textures directory, and I'm looking for my rock, which I believe is this. No, it's Bricks 83, I think. This Bricks 83 that I downloaded. Yeah, that's it. It may not be perfect, but it'll work. All right, now we need a normal to give that some 3D. So I'm gonna see if Brick 83, there's the Brick 83 normals right there. So I can click on that, and that adds in the normals for the rock. And let's go back to layout real quick to take a look. So that kind of given the look of our building. It may be a little dark, but I can change that later. All right. Now, this piece right here, this one right here has stripes as well, right? Just like this front does. So if I select these stripes that are straight across here, they're the same stripes as going under each window, right? So I'm just going to come over here, and I already have stucco dark 2, all right? And then this part, the other part, is the same color as the rest of the building. So that I believe I called stucco light, okay? But as you can see, these particular faces have not been UV unwrapped. So let's go to UV editor, and I'm hitting A and period on my number pad so I can focus into that selection. All right, and we're going to zoom in here. Got to get my headphones out of the way here. Hit shift, slide this over. All right, so they're all selected. So let's go to UV, smart UV, and click OK, and let's go ahead and rotate that just a little bit like that so we get some randomness from it. And let's just kind of scale that up so the stucco matches as close as possible. And then let's go into layout. Okay, so that's kind of what this building looks like on the side. All right, it may not be perfect, all right, but it's close. Now, my particular building, this gray on the first floor is actually darker, so I'm going to just, with that gray selected, I'm just going to hit the base color, and we're going to add some shade to it by adding black. Remember, shade is black, so we're going to change the shade. We're going to darken that up a little bit more like that. Okay. I think that this stucco is still too dark, but I'll refine it later. But let me do a save. All right. Now we have two other areas that are different than the rest of the building, and that is these pieces right here. These are either, I think that these are rooms, but on the other side, I believe that these are it's a stairwell plus elevators, I think. One of these are. I don't know which one is, but this part of the building has a vinyl siding to it. Okay, and it's a Dutch lap vinyl siding. So let me bring up the image, kind of show you. So this area right here, this brown, it's vinyl siding. Okay, just like you would find on a house. All right, and I have installed thousands and thousands and thousands of square feet of vinyl siding in my life when I had a home improvement business, and I know that this is Dutch lap siding. All right, so let's go into Krita because I do have that image up. So here's Krita and brown siding right here. This is an image that I got from SketchLab's SketchUpTextures.com. I have a free account. I don't. With a free account, you can get the diffuse, but you don't get the height map, the normal, and ambient occlusion layers. You only get the diffuse. However, I have a tool that you use to create those. And I've already done a video on this product, but we'll revisit it. So if you don't have an image that has a height map or a normal, you can create one. And that is using the software that I've already done a video on called Materialize. And Materialize, I hate to tell you, but the documentation sucks. But you open up the diffuse, that PNG that you would, or JPEG or whatever you downloaded, by hitting the O in the diffuse. So if I hit O and I migrate over to where I have my textures, which are usually in my MSFS projects, textures. Okay, then you have all your folders, and I'm going to come down to brown siding because that's what I copied it into. Double click there. Again, there we go. You have 51 brown siding, 53 brown siding, seamless JPEG. That's what actually I downloaded it, and it was an image that was 1000 by 1000 pixels. Remember, they need to be divisible by 4. 1000 is not, is it? 1000 divided by 1, 2, 3 divided by 4. Yeah, it is. 250. But to make it more realistic, 1K is 1024. But anyway, I scaled that in GIMP to 2048, 2K texture. All right, and then I saved it out as a PNG, and that's what shows up here. All right, so I'm going to open up that PNG in Materialize, and that will populate the diffuse part. All right, now the create buttons only show up when it can create this particular layer from just the diffuse. All right, and notice that we cannot create a normal map from this position, right? What we need to create a normal map is a height map. So I'm going to click create height map, and I'm going to use the right mouse button, kind of move this over a little bit, zoom in just a bit. Then you can use these equalizer sliders to change some of the properties that you'll have to play with. All right, you don't have to. You can leave it at the default, or you can use presets. All right, but we're going to increase this back one here, and then I'm going to set as height map. Now you notice when I create my height map, I automatically get the create button for the normals. Now we have enough information from the image to create a normal map. So click create the normal map, and you get the normal map. And again, like the height map, you can adjust the sliders for increasing certain portions of the image. All right, so I'm going to go back to default, and you can move this. Like I said, you can move these sliders around to make fine adjustments to your normal map. Now, if you wanted one of these presets, you can just click like the crisp clear set, and it'll give more rigid lines. Okay, in this case, if you want to do more of a smooth with just small dimples, or somewhere in between. So we're going to do somewhere in between. Now we're going to do crisp, because vinyl siding is actually crisp because it's made out of vinyl. Go figure. All right, now I'm going to set this as my normal map. Okay, so now I have a height, diffuse, normal. I can create the roughness or smoothness map by clicking the create, and then set that as smoothness. All right, and you can do your AO and all that kind of stuff. Now, Materialize, you can save out your roughness and your AO separately. It saves it out separately. Then you would need to combine those two for the MSFS materials, because MSFS materials uses the AO and the roughness and the metallic in the same layer, but each one of those are written to a different channel. Okay, so ambient occlusion would be on the red channel, roughness would be on the green channel, and metallic would be on the blue channel. All right, so if you don't have a normal map, smoothness, AO, all that kind of stuff, you can use Materialize to create that. Now, if I do a save, hitting the S on the item that I want to save, it will automatically save your map, normal map, as a bump. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click bump 53, this right here. I put an N on the end for bump, and I'm going to, for the normal, I'm going to call this N2 so I don't overwrite my first one. Okay, and hit select. Now if I open up my file explorer, and let me pause and get there, you'll notice that in the directory I now have that N2 bump. All right, but we need to convert this bump into a PNG. All right, And we're going to do the same with the roughness. So I'm going to click S for save the roughness, select the one that has an R right here, and we're going to call this roughness 2 so I don't overwrite what I originally did. So now I have 2 roughnesses. All right. Now, you can save the project so everything comes up the way it was, but I'm not going to in this case. But this is Materialize. So let's close Materialize. And then I'm going to open up GIMP. Now I don't have to use GIMP. I can use Krita because I use Krita 99% of the time. I just use GIMP to do quick transforms, conversions. Okay. So here's GIMP. And I'm going to File, and I'm going to Open, and we are going to go into our Textures folder, which is under MSFS Projects, Textures. Go to the brown siding, and here's my R2 and my N2. All right, so I'm going to open up the N2. Okay. And it's still a 2K image, but it's a bump map. It's a BMP file. It's a bitmap. So I'm going to File, export that into a PNG. All right. So I'm going to rename bump to PNG and export that with the default compression. And then I can go ahead and close this, close that normal map back out, the original bump, and then I'm going to open the R2 roughness, and I'm going to export that out into a PNG. So, not save as, export as. And we are going to just replace the bump with the PNG. Hit enter. Export. Now we're done with GIMP. Like I said, you don't have to use GIMP. You can use Krita to do the same thing. All right. Now I need to copy that normal, the normal N2 PNG, hold my control and select the R2 PNG, and I need to copy those into my model lib textures folder. So I'm going to drop down to Columbus buildings, package sources, model lib, and right click and drag those into textures, release, copy. So now I have the diffuse, and I have both the normal and the roughness. So we'll minimize that. Minimize Krita. All right, now I want to select this object here, and I want to create a new image, and we're going to call this siding. Let's call it vinyl siding. Okay, and go to UV editing. Hit A in the right screen, hit period to focus. And I believe I already have those UV unwrapped. Okay, yeah, I do. All right, so that's good. So in the materials, let's come down to the MSFS parameters, standard. We can make it double-sided so we don't have any transparent walls. And then we're going to come down to the base color, and we are going to choose this brown siding image. Okay, so let's go to layout, take a look at that. Yep, see that? All right, but we need to give it some depth. Okay. So I'm going to, I can go back to UV editing if I wanted to. All right, and then go down to roughness, open roughness, texture, and we want the R2 PNG, which is right here. Okay. I should, yeah, see, it's shiny. It's not supposed to be shiny. It's not that shiny. Okay. I should have toned down. It looks more metal than it does vinyl. But in Materialize, you can do your sliders and make it more black than gray to get rid of the shine. Okay, that's what I didn't do, but I will on my final one. All right, and then we want to add the normals. So we're going to click open, go to the textures, find the N2 PNG for the normals, and add that. Now it's really shiny, almost looks like steel. Okay, really shiny. It's almost like a mirror in a way. All right, so there's some things that we can tone down, obviously, but just for the sake of the video, you'll need to adjust the metallic properties so it doesn't, or the roughness, turn up the roughness so it doesn't look as shiny. Okay, just know that. Can we, I can't remember. Yeah, we can't. We can't use the slider to do the roughness here. So anyway, but we do have a good representation of that brown vinyl siding. All right. So let's go ahead and do a save. And just knowing that I'm going to, later on, I'm going to adjust this texture so it's not as shiny. Okay. I'm going to go back into Materialize, play with some of the sliders for the roughness and the normals so it doesn't shine as much. All right. You guys get what I'm talking about? All right. All right. So we have the basic materials laid out. All right. Next, what we're going to do in the next video, and that's going to be part 14. All right. In part 14, the next video, we're going to add an image for the air conditioning unit vents and for the roof. And actually, this part up here, I need to separate this little wall on each end, and these need to be made the same material as the vinyl siding. This is all vinyl siding up here. Okay, so I'll probably do that off screen, and it will match this. All right. Plus, I think I'm going to work on this texture and get rid of that shininess for the next video as well. All right, so we're getting pretty close. All right, so part 14, we're going to work on the air conditioning units, get those grills in there, and we will probably do the roof, put a texture on the roof, and then we are going to add some parallax windows so we can see some rooms in the hotel. All right, so that's what we are going to do next time. So I hope you learned something new or interesting, and I hope you guys subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your support. And if you feel inclined to support me, I'd be well appreciated with buymeacoffee.com/myphysicalworld. And I will see you guys on the next video. See you later.